Welcome back to another episode of the Rip City Roundtable Podcast. Your host, Cory Dickman, the shoot first point guard here on the show. Thank y'all for joining. As you can see, right now we have no other guest, or as you can hear, if you're listening in the car on a podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, by the way, you can find us, or on YouTube at the Blazers Edge YouTube channel. We are part of a collection of shows, Rip City Roundtable Podcast, We Like the Blazers Podcast, and Trail Daddy, the podcast by Mr. Dave Deckard. But I'm Cory, and I'm by myself today. I'm running the solo show at the Roundtable. I got takeout food tonight. It's just me eating here at the table. But we're going to run through some things. So, I promise I won't try to bore you here. The Blazers, our beloved Trailblazers, we are sitting at a record of 2-5 as we record this episode on Monday, November 4th, the night before the election, the presidential election. Maybe you're nervous. Maybe you're excited. I don't know where you're at, but it's a big night. We're heading into a day tomorrow. The Blazers played the Pelicans tonight. We don't know how it's going to go. By the time you listen to this episode, we will have won or lost. So I'm not sure where it's going to fall. The Pelicans were one of our wins this season so far, so that's nice. 2-5, like I mentioned, is our record. And we have to look at this, everybody here, Rip City fans, our goals for the 2024-2025 season. It's okay that we're 2-5. In fact, that's exactly where we should be, at 2-5. We're not competing with the Boston Celtics, who are 6-1, or the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are 6-0. The Phoenix Suns, who we just played the other night, 5-1. We're not competing with these teams. You know who we're competing with? The Utah Jazz at 0-6. The Clippers at 2-4. The Philadelphia 76ers at 1-4, who are actually going to be a better team. They get Paul George back tonight, so that record will start to flip. The Detroit Pistons at 2-5. The Toronto Raptors at 2-5. And then the worst team in the East right now, the Milwaukee Bucks at 1-5. Sorry, Dame Dalla. I don't know. Things are not going as well there as you had planned. Milwaukee will start to right its ship, right? As long as Giannis stays healthy, that team is going to bounce back. We want them to be bad, don't get me wrong, but not until like 2028, 2029 when we get those first-round draft picks from Milwaukee. This is a little too soon to be bad. So Milwaukee's going to be better. Philadelphia is going to be better. And we're going to be sitting right there in the bottom three, which is exactly where we should be. You should be watching Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey. We had Steve DeWald on the show last week. And Steve, he did a ton of research on this draft class. He's always been somebody that's watched prospects as it pertains to the Blazers and their draft selections and draft positions. And this draft, guys, has got to be the one we tank it for. And I'm sorry. It's still exciting, right? We can tune in and watch. Watch these Blazers. However you're watching them, KGW, on the radio. Maybe you got League Pass because you don't live in Portland. Still tune in. There's still some exciting basketball to watch. The Phoenix Suns game is a perfect example from the other night. The Blazers are very competitive in the first half, going to halftime with a 4-point lead. And this is Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, our boy Yusuf Nurkic, right? This is a Phoenix team that's at full strength, and the Blazers are hanging with them. Now, the third quarter got away from the Blazers, right? Huge run by the Suns. But then the fourth quarter comes, and the Blazers make a huge comeback. Delano Banton draining threes like he's Steph Curry out there. And the Blazers make it all the way back, have a chance to really steal that game, and they fall short. But you know what? That's great because we got the loss. That's what we needed, but yet still made the game entertaining. So, Rip City fans, I know you're hearing this from a lot of other podcasts you're probably listening to, shows, maybe reading the paper, whatever you're doing to get your Blazers content. But I'll tell you, this is exactly where we want to be in catching this development. You go through the team right now. Our leading scorer, if you were to pick the leading scorer through 7 games, you probably were going to choose between Anthony Simons or Jeremy Grant, right? That if you followed the team, if you've been following in any way, shape, or form over the last 2 seasons, you probably would have guessed Simons or Grant, and you would have been right. Simons is averaging 18.9 points. Grant is 18.6. Grant has honestly played really well this season. He's been scoring the ball at will. The only issue with take Simons, for instance, now I know it's only a 7-game sample size, right? But he's at 31% from the three-point line. That's not great, right? If I'm putting the hat on of we need the trade asset, Simons has got to get that percentage up, right? And so, again, I don't want us to say we're watching the Blazers just to see which ones get traded or whatnot, but the Blazers and their three-point shooting has been an issue this season. When you go down the percentages, not great. Grant's at 34%. Ayton is hilariously at 38%. Scoot, who we'll talk about here in a second, 29%. Denny, who we need a better three-point performance out of Advia, is 19%. That's not great. Where there's the silver lining, the light at the end of the tunnel, is Mr. Toumani Camara. Toumani is shooting 50% from three-point land on 3 attempts a game, which is like, that's not nothing, right? That's not nothing. Three attempts a game, he's hitting half of them. So Toumani has been, I think, one of the highlights of the season thus far. A guy that is young, that's going to be a part of the core moving forward. We're seeing some development there. That's great. Scoot, mixed results. I'd say mixed results so far, right? The first game of the season, he looked like he had reservations somewhere at 10 o'clock and had to get the heck out of the Rose Garden or out of Moda. He was in a rush. He didn't look like the game was coming to him. He was turning over the ball. He was running up the court into nowhere. Now, he's definitely settled in, but I don't think we're going to see – I think Scoot Henderson at some point has got to get into the starting lineup before we're going to see what Scoot is supposed to be. Scoot Henderson is not a bench player, okay? He's not going to be the guy that comes off the bench. Scoot Henderson is either going to be one of your best players leading your team as a starter, playing 35, 40 minutes a game, or he's going to be a bust. It's one of the two. I'm sorry. It's one of the two. And so I understand Simons needs to start. I understand Toumani's there and Denny has to play, Jeremy Grant and Ayton. I don't like this starting lineup right now. I think if we need to know what Scoot is, he's got to be playing. I think when Sharp comes back, Sharp's got to start too. There just got to be some lineup changes here with Chauncey. I think Chauncey, he's in it, he's not in it, right? Like we all would be probably in Chauncey Billups' shoes. So I think Scoot, he's going to be the one that we're the hardest on for sure, because there's the most expectation there. He was the altering decision point, the moment when our franchise changed from Dame to Scoot, really is what it was. That's what it was, right? Dame left because we kept the third pick last year's draft, or 2 years ago's draft. So he will always have the most expectations on him. And I think for it to be fair, he's got to start. And we got to give this kid 3 years, right? We got to see one more season, see how he molds with Shaden when Sharp comes back. And I think Robert Williams is coming back soon, so we get some Rob action. We've talked about Rob on our show, about just maybe play like 10 games and then put him on ice and trade him. So that would be nice if that's what ends up happening there. But so Advia, we talked about, he needs to up his three-point shooting. Denny's been good. Like against the Suns last night or 2 nights ago, towards the end of the game, we had a steal, a late game steal, and it should have been a little bunny layup, and he missed it. It wasn't that big a deal. Again, we should have lost that game anyway. But it's just those little things. He's been good, not great. But I think he's a guy that once you get him on a competitive team in games that really matter, I think he'll shine. Keep going down as we go down the points per game list. We talked about Delano Banton. Ryan Rupert has had spot minutes. He's playing 11 minutes a game right now. Still not enough of a sample size to really see what Ryan can do. We highlighted him as we started the podcast back a few weeks ago as a player off the bench that we definitely want to keep our eyes on, because Ryan has the body, right? He's got the length and all the intangibles. He's shown it, flashes. He's shown it. We just got to see it come together. And almost like they're probably going to have careers that mirror each other, at least in Portland, is Chris Murray. And so Chris and Ryan, although have similar games but different, they're different. Chris, he's got to make that jump. Both Ryan and Chris, if they can make that jump as coming off the bench, 3-and-D guys, energy dudes, hit the open three when you got him. Chris Murray has been somebody that is also, he's hovering at that 42-43% mark from three, only on 2 attempts a game, so not a lot of attempts there. But we'll see if that can get better as the season goes on. We saw Chris, all those bench guys, we're going to talk about Jabari here in a sec, but Ryan Rupert, as the season went on and the Blazers truly did wave the white flag and those guys got a lot more minutes and they got more comfortable and they knew they were going to get playing time, that's when those percentages will start to increase. But right now, the Blazers are still, quote-unquote, trying to win, so I think those bench guys, they're just not getting the minutes to be consistent. Jabari Walker is probably my biggest question mark right now, or I wouldn't say disappointment, because Jabari's only getting 12 minutes a game, so it's not enough to say wow, this has been a failure so far through 7 games. But I expect I am on the Jabari Walker bandwagon. I am probably the vice president of the Jabari Walker fan club. I see something in Jabari, and I don't know why he's been put on ice. He's not getting a lot of playing time. I want to see this increase for Jabari Walker. There are times he comes in and he just is a lightning rod, man. He has some of that Draymond Green in him, that glue guy that every great NBA team or contending team has. Jabari brings to the table. And so, again, I think it's just early. I think Chauncey is not sure what he should be doing with his lineups right now. And some of the games have been a little funky. So I'm going to chalk it up to that versus a regression. I don't want to use the R word here. No regression. I think Jabari just needs some more playing time and some more consistency as well. The person I've loved the most, the reason why I'm tuning into Blazers games right now and why you should be, is Donovan Clingan. I have a man crush on Donovan Clingan. I think this guy is so fun. 7 games into his NBA career, he's playing like a stud, man. And I'm not trying to throw hyperboles or be too excitable or whatever, but Clingan, I think, has it. And he's showing it on the defensive end. He's blocking shots. When what you were meant to do in the NBA, your superpower is being a defensive anchor, when those attributes are showing through 7 games into your NBA career, you're doing something right? Imagine where he'll be in 3 years from now, right? God forbid, no injuries and all that stuff. I think Clingan's the real deal, man. He will, as long as he keeps developing, doesn't get hurt, stays within himself. I am super impressed with what I'm seeing with Clingan. And as I find this stat here, that's honestly Clingan's number one stat, in my opinion, 2.6 fouls a game. That is incredible. 2.6 fouls a game. Scoot Henderson's at 2.7. So you got your huge lumbering rookie center, 7'2", huge wingspan. That guy should be fouling out of games. He should be fouling out, and he's not. He's got it. He knows how to position. He knows how to be quick. He moves his feet well, and then he just maneuvers in his so much length and blocking shots. So impressed with Clingan so far. 5 rebounds a game, almost 6. 1.5 blocks per game. Only 0.7 turnovers per game. Clingan's there. I don't care about his points. You could say, well, 4.3 points a game. I don't care. Throw that out. He's getting just, he doesn't. You don't have to run offense for him. You do not have to run offense for him. So at 4 points a game, he's only playing 13 minutes a game. You bump that up to 26 minutes a game. If you're getting Clingan close to 8 or 9 points a game and 10 rebounds, 3 blocks, his 36, per 36 minutes looks phenomenal as a rookie right now. So that's why I watch Blazer basketball, is for my 13 minutes of Donovan Clingan. To watch him on defense is so fun, and to see him adjust on offense and grow. But last but not least, our boy, the Great Barrier Reef, as Adrian Bernadich would say, Duop Reith. 4 games. He's only played 4 games this year. He's scored 1.5 points per game, 3.5 minutes. we are going to see more Dewap as the season goes on and as potentially Ayton gets traded, if he gets traded. Rob Williams, when Rob Williams gets traded. When you spot Klingon, because Klingon probably ends up starting at some point this season, right? That's probably where we're heading. So Dewap's going to have his time, right? There, we all remember that point last year when Dewap showed up. He had been on the G League team, showed up to the main squad and started burying threes and actually was like a difference maker in some of these games. Dewap's going to get there. I'm not worried about Dewap, but right now he's just not a factor. So those have been all the guys, right? Led in scoring by Simons and Grant. It has a little drop off. Like, we didn't really talk about DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton's just been DeAndre Ayton. 13 points, 11 rebounds. He's getting his steals, his blocks, a little bit of assists. He's out of foul trouble. DeAndre is DeAndre. I think I'm getting more and more okay with DeAndre potentially being traded. I know Dave Deckard in the summer, that was his big one, right? He was like, watch out for this trade. And at first I was like, I don't know. I don't want to see Ayton go. I love Klingon, so Ayton can go. Let's get something for DeAndre. He's great. He's been a great player. Ton of skill set. He's super young. But I think the timeline, and we're going to get into the draft, at least a high lottery draft pick one more season, hopefully. Just one more season. I don't know if Ayton fits where we're at. Now, that'll all depend on exactly where we end up in this draft, who we select, yada, yada. So 2-5 so far. We'll play the Pelicans tonight, a short-handed Pelicans team who have a ton of injuries. We'll see what ends up happening. The Blazers probably will give them a game. I don't know. We should look up what the spread is real quick for tonight's game and see, because that's usually like a metric sometimes, right? If it's not about wins and losses, let's just see. Hey, can the Blazers just score enough to cover? The Pelicans are -2.5, so the Blazers are +2.5. I think we can hang. We could definitely hang with them. So that's it. That's our quick recap of the season so far. If you haven't been watching, maybe you're somebody that just listens to podcasts and YouTube shows but doesn't watch the team. There's still something to watch. Okay, don't just look at the record and say, "Wow, the Blazers can't make the playoffs or can't be in the play-in." Right? The West is so stacked. Right, the West is so stacked. The Clippers are 2-4. The Pelicans are 3-4. Those are our next two teams above the Blazers. The Pelicans right now at 3-4 would be tied for the 6th seed in the East. They would be tied for the 6th seed in the East. In the West, they're the 12th seed out of the playoffs. So the West is deep. We knew this. It was going to be a tough uphill battle. The Blazers are not a competitive team right now. So, and that's okay because we didn't think they would be. So, but don't just not watch because of that. Watch for all the development. Watch to see where things land. Be in your friend group. Be the friend in your friend group that says, when this team in 2 years from now is in the Western Conference Finals, you said you were watching them when they were bad. Okay? Don't be the bandwagon. Be on the wagon. Be on the wagon right now. There's room for you. We'll let you on the wagon. You can sit at the round table. We're probably in the caboose of the wagon, right? There's other really cool people. Mike Richmond, he's in the front. Danny's in the front. There's other people in the front of the bus in the wagon. We're in the back, but you can hang out at the Rip City Roundtable. Come hang out with Cory, with me. I'm not talking in the third person. Join us every week. We have great guests on the show. Blazers Edge writers, other people that cover the team. Sometimes I get a friend of mine on the show. We keep it fresh. We keep it light. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching on YouTube, following us, listen to us on podcasts. And remember, it's a great day to be a Blazer.
We are Rogue Media Sports.